Hey viewers, 2Fortis here. In this video, I'm going to be opening up a pack that I got from playing in One Piece the card game in a tournament. And I also want to just give my thoughts on what the meta is. So let's go ahead and first start opening up the pack to see what I got. Hopefully I get a super rare or a parallel. That'd be great. But yeah, let's take a look. So we're gonna, I realize that there's a little glare, so I'm gonna turn off the light here. And I'm gonna open up my pack and let's see what I get. So here we are. So we got Caribou, Alvida, Cavendish, Officer Agents. Oh, my camera just turned off. Let's go ahead and fix that. All right. So we had Officer Agents, Hold'em, Babanuki, Penguin, and uncommons we got Ultimortar, Mr. Two Bond Clay, Trafalgar Law the red-green leader, Page 1 the rare, and Usopp the rare. And we got the Don. So cool. I don't have, I think this will be my final copy that I need of Usopp. So that's cool. But now I just want to go ahead and talk about the meta. And so, of course, this is just my opinion of what the meta is. And it definitely might be a little bit different from some other people's opinions. Honestly, I don't really know. You know, I've seen a few other video streamers talk about what the meta is, and obviously what the meta was in Japan, and what's strong and what's not strong. So I feel like most people are talking about, and this is in set 1 OPO01. I feel like most people are talking about Roronoa Zoro, the red leader, and you can attach a Don to Roronoa Zoro, and you give all of your other characters plus 1,000 power. So that pairs really good with red. Red has a lot of rush cards, 3 costs Zoro for 5,000. The starter deck Sanji, 2 costs. You can pay 2 extra to give it another 2,000 power and rush. So, and Sanji is at 4,000, so that becomes 6,000 plus the Zoro ability when you attach the Don, so that's 7,000. So that's you need either a 2k counter or a 2k counter and another card. And then Zoro's at 5,000 power, just 3 cost rush. So that's, you know, just a rush card. Not a whole, the only other color so far that has rush is purple, I believe. There's a purple queen that has rush, and then the 9 cost Kaido that has rush as well. So red is really good in the early game because they have a bunch of things that can get rush. You have the Zoro, you have the Sanji. You also have Cavendish if you do want to play Cavendish. I have not seen a whole lot of people play Cavendish. But the main, I feel like the main center around the Rush Zoro deck is you play the 1 cost Search Nami for 2,000 power, search the top 5 for a Straw Hat. You can search for Zoro. that card has been eroded, so you can search for, say, Jet Pistol. And Jet Pistol deals with a lot of threats. In addition to that, you can also play the Otama, which lowers something by 2,000 power for 1 cost. So Jet Pistol takes out 6,000. So if you play the Otama with the Jet Pistol, you know, it's a 2-card combo, but you can search it with for Nami, and you can potentially get rid of 8 cost things. A lot of purple things have 8 costs, along with honestly, we'll get to this in a little bit, but what I think is honestly maybe a little bit stronger than Red Rush Zoro is people playing green and the 8 cost Kid. 8 cost Kid is kind of a hard stop for a lot of decks. If you can't deal with the 8 cost Kid, there's nothing you can honestly do to inflict more damage, because you can't get through the 8 cost Kid. And playing against somebody who plays that deck well, they're going to have a lot of blockers, they're going to have a lot of counters, along with some other key cards in that deck. But Red Rush Zoro I definitely think is something that is one of the top 3 decks for sure. Maybe even the top 4. I would say top 3 decks. And it is something that you do have to think about when you play. If you're playing against Red Rush Zoro, Red Rush Zoro is definitely a threat and one of the top decks for sure. So honestly, the deck that I think is one of the strongest decks is the green starter deck Kid. Not the starter deck, but the starter character Kid leader, Eustace Kid. And his ability is you can pay 3 Dawn, and you can discard a card, and then you can ready Kid. So basically you can attack with Kid twice, the leader Kid. So if you just don't do anything, he's a 5,000 power, you can attack with Kid, and then attack a character or attack their leader, and then you can pay 3 Dawn, discard a card, and then ready Kid, and then attack with him again. So for sure, after you have 3 Dawn, once you potentially say on turn 5, you can attach 2, and you have 5 Dawn up. You can, or not turn 5, that's turn 3. You have 5 Dawn up. You can attach 2 Dawn to Kid, so that gives Kid 7,000 power. You can attack with Kid at 7,000 power. Into leader, into whatever you feel like is a threat. Then you pay 3, discard a card, and then attack another 7,000 again. Super strong. In the end game, Kid continues to just get better. You can, at that point, attach if you have 10 Dawn up, you can just attach 7 Dawn to Kid, making Kid 12,000 power, and then attacking probably leader, maybe Kaido. I'm not sure what your target is, but you attack something, and then they probably most likely either have to block it or empty their hand. You can have Blast Breath for a counter 4,000. A lot of cards do have counter 4,000 if they have 2 Dawn up or 1 Dawn up. There's those event cards that are counter 4,000s. But if you have counter 4,000, you're still at 9,000 at a 12,000 attack. So you're probably only playing 1 event card. So you're playing the event card plus maybe 2 counter 2,000s. So that's 8,000, and then so you're at 13,000, which will block that. And that's only 1 attack, and then you just as Kid, then you just commit 3 or rest 3 more Dawn. You ready Kid, and then you attack again for 12,000. Unless you have blockers, you're probably taking a lot of damage. So I feel like Kid can definitely get out of control. Kid also has a lot of support in the early game. 2 costs Nekomomushi, which will rest a 2 cost or 2 cost or less, 3 cost or less. And so you can rest their leaders, their blockers, unless you're playing Kaido, which Kaido doesn't have a whole lot of blockers that are under that 2,000 power. But you can rest a lot of things in other colors, and if they don't decide to commit them for some reason, you can rest them and then attack with Kid or attack with any of your other characters. Then you have Izo at a little bit more, but Izo is a 3 cost, but it's going to rest I believe the 3,000 or 4,000. I don't remember. But yeah, first the Nekomomushi, and then you have the Izo, and then on top of that, then you have Okiku. Okiku is like almost is so good leading up to 8-cost Kid, because Okiku, 3-cost Okiku at 5,000 power is already like just pretty strong. But then Okiku has an ability that you can, while attacking, you attach one Dawn, commit one Dawn, and you rest the character. So Okiku, I believe it's commit one Dawn, or maybe it's attach. I don't remember. But yeah, so Okiku basically can rest they can attack into leader. They rest your blocker, so your blocker, your chopper or whatever your 1-cost law blocker. They rest your blocker, and then they get the attack in, and then you probably have to, at that point, unless you have more blockers, you have to either take the damage or defend with cards. And then on top of that, then if you have another attacker like Kid, now you've rested their blockers, so then you can just use your Kid or another character to go into their blocker and take them out, or you can just ignore their blocker completely and just go straight into leader for more damage or more cards. So Okiku is really good. Then on top of that, then you have the 2 1-cost searchers. So you have Momonosuke. Momonosuke is a 0-power 1-cost searcher that you can you pay 1 to play him, and then you pay 1 to search the top 5 for a Wano character card. So then you can search for Okiku if you wanted to. Okiku is a Wano card. You can also pay 1. So that's Momonosuke. And then the other searcher is Juri Bounty. And she is another 1-cost character that you can pay 1, and you search the top 5, and you search for a Warlord of the Sea. And so then you can go search for your kids, search for your laws. So both of those are just really strong. Or Momonosuke can search for Nekomomushi, which then you can pay 2. So you paid 1 for Momonosuke's ability. If you played Momonosuke the turn before, you pay 1 for his ability. Then you get Nekomomushi. You pay 2 for Nekomomushi to play Nekomomushi to commit their blocker or rest their blocker, and then you go in with Kid into their blocker or into leader. It's just really strong. And then you also have the 7. There's a 5-drop law, which is there's two 5-drop laws. They kind of do interesting things. The one that bounces a character back to your hand. For example, you can and then you can replay a 3-cost character or lower. So potentially you can play the 5-cost law. You can attack with Okiku, use her ability to commit their blocker, and then now she's rested, so on the next turn your opponent can potentially take out Okiku. But then if you play the 5-cost law, who is also a blocker, you can return Okiku to your hand and then replay Okiku, and she's no longer rested, so she can't be a target unless you can somehow rest her. Which is crazy. And then you have this 7-cost kid. 7-cost kid is another blocker. But the biggest thing with the 7-cost kid is that if 7-cost kid can live for a turn, then 7-cost kid can basically, you attach a Dawn to 7-cost kid, and at the end of the turn, if 7-cost kid is rested, then you can ready 7-cost kid. So you can attach a Dawn to 7-cost kid after you have to play 7-cost kid first, and then the next turn, then you can attack with 7. You can attach the Dawn to 7-cost kid. You can attack with 7-cost kid, and into whatever you want. And then at the end of the turn, then 7-cost kid ready. So then he's an attacker and a blocker at the same time. Then there's the 8-cost kid, which is 8-cost kid. Like, every deck needs to know how to play around the 8-cost kid. If you don't have an answer for the 8-cost kid, then unfortunately you're probably not going to win. So 8-cost kid costs 8,000 power, and he has an ability that you can, if you have a Dawn attached to 8-cost kid, and 8-cost kid is rested, which he has an ability that you can just rest him, and then I believe also play a 2-cost or 3-cost or lower, but you can rest him. If 8-cost kid is rested, then you can't attack into anything else but that 8-cost kid, and you have to have that Dawn attached to 8-cost kid. So on the turn that you have 8 Dawn, so that's turn 4, if you're going second, you can potentially play 8-cost kid, but you cannot attach that Dawn to 8-cost kid. So maybe you play him on turn 5, and that's all set up and things like that. But when 8-cost kid is rested, so he's 8,000 power, you have to attack into 8-cost kid. You can't attack into leader. You can't use, like, let's say, Red's Luffy effect to attach to Dawn, and then blockers can't block. Blockers can't still block, but you still have to attack 8-cost kid. So at 8,000 power, 8-cost kid is already pretty powerful, so you have to attack. If you attack with 8,000 power, they probably have some cards in their hand, so they're just going to counter out of it, 1,000, 2,000 counter. At that point, potentially, if depending on how they played, they might have a few blockers up. If you have 7-cost kid, then 7-cost kid is a blocker. You can also play the 1-cost law for the blocker. So if they have a few blockers up, if you attack you dump all your, let's say I'm playing red, and then I have Luffy at 6,000 power, so then I dump 5 Dawn onto Luffy, and I attack into I have to use this kid character, not the leader, then they can just use a blocker to block it, and then I only have 5 Dawn left on probably like my leader, and then I attach 5 Dawn to my leader, and then I still have to attack 8-cost kid, and then so that's 10,000 into 8,000. Then you just play a 2,000 counter, and then another 2,000 counter, or 1,000 count, 2,000 and a 1,000 counter, and then 8-cost kid is still live. And then because 8-cost kid has to be rested, that's pretty much the end of the opposing player's turn. Then 8-cost kid, then it's green's turn again. And if 8-cost kid is live, then you can attach Dawn to 8-cost kid. You attack for 9,000 the Dawn is attached to Kid, so you still have to attack into him next turn. And then you have Leader Kid's ability, so that's 1 Dawn, and then you have 3 Dawn for his ability, so that's 4 Dawn. So you can put 6 Dawn on Leader Kid. So that's 11,000. So that's 2 attacks of 11,000, and then 1 attack of 9,000. And then the next turn you still have to attack into 8 cost Kid. Like 8 cost Kid is just a game changer. I've seen so many games where you get them down to 0 life because you're playing Russ Zoro and they can't do anything, and then they just drop 8 cost Kid, and you're kind of like nothing. You can't do anything. The only counters with red, you have Otama Jet Pistol, potentially. I've also seen potentially if you can keep Brook alive, there is a 5 cost Brook. You can attach a Dawn to Brook and then do a minus 2,000 power. So with the Dawn attached and the Brook, that's 6,000 power into 8,000 minus 2,000, which is at 6,000 power Kid. So you probably have to add a few more Dawn to Brook just to make sure that 8 cost Kid gets KO'd, but then you have to watch out for their blockers. Red doesn't really have anything that they can do against blockers except for Jet Pistol at this point in time that I can think of. The other card that you can potentially play in red is Round Table. I think Round Table is super strong. Give one character minus 10,000 power. It's really good against 10 cost Kaido, 9 cost Kaido, and 8 cost Kid, along with any other potential threats that you have. For a cost of 4, you get minus 10,000 power. So you get Kid to minus, you play that on Kid, he's at minus 2,000. I mean, you can attack with your Nami at 2,000 power, so that's a 4,000 power difference. You know, they're either having to use a blocker. Potentially you have maybe a couple Namis and a Zoro. So you can have, you know, three plus your leader. So you have 4 attacks on 8 cost Kid. You know, if you do leader onto 8 cost Kid, that's 5,000 plus minus 2,000. So they need 7,000. Unless they have a blocker, you can play blast. You know, a counter 4,000. And then they still need 3,000 more. Potentially they have it, but then you can just go again with Russ Zoro or even a 2,000 Nami. 2,000 Nami, you still need 4,000 counter, so you need 3 cards in hand if they have 2,000 counters, or you know, an event card. But 8 cost Kid or any green deck is potentially really a threat. I think in my area, I have not seen a whole lot of people play Law, but I did see one. I did play against one Law, and I didn't know. I'm not really familiar with Law. Law just seems super confusing, and I wasn't sure what was in Law's deck, and so because of that, I kind of messed up. I didn't play to the fact that he was going to have 8 cost Kid. Of course, he's going to have 8 cost Kid. You're playing green. Why would you not have 8 cost Kid? Because I think 8 cost Kid is definitely one of the biggest threats that you have to play around. And he played it, and I couldn't get through because he had so many blockers. And then at that point in time, he's like had both his searchers up. You're getting +1 cards. You have blockers to block. You get Beiji to block. Plus you're playing into red as well for red green Law. Yeah, it was crazy. So I think red green Law is also a threat, but also I think you know, Kaido, starter deck Kaido is also super strong. If you get Onigashima, 3 costs to ramp your Dawn, then for sure on 10 cost you have 10 cost Kaido, which can basically board wipe. Especially if you're playing against red, you just 1 card for 3 or 4, really good. Then you have the rush 9 cost Kaido, Honestly, in any board wipe situation, you just have to know that they have the potential to board wipe, and kind of try and play around that. Which is why in red you can potentially play round table to drop 10 cost Kaido to 0. Also, Kaido is not a blocker, so you can potentially get through in that, but it's just really a lot of swing damage attack. I try not to use the word swing. Everyone uses the word swing, but I don't really like it. But I feel like I'm catching myself using it a lot more. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on the meta. This video went way longer than I thought it was. Blue Dofi is also, I feel like, definitely a threat. You definitely need to know how to play against Blue Dofi. His ability, you attach 2 Dawn to Dofi, you attack with Dofi, you pay 1, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Warlord of the Sea, cost 4 or less, then you can play it rested. And then so blue has a lot of search abilities that you can kind of stack your deck. It's definitely a lot of planning ahead on what you're going to do. I think to fully use his ability, or to fully use that specific deck, you kind of want to be searching with your Doflamingo every single turn. So you basically get a free card every single turn. The only problem is that card comes in committed, so you kind of have to have blockers to block for that. One of the big problems I have with blue is that a lot of times their abilities are to return cards back to your hand. And especially if you're playing red, which I feel like red is definitely a very strong deck. Red has a lot of rush cards, which honestly benefits the red player, because then they probably attack with that character, and then you're bouncing it to their hand, so you can't attack that character, and then they just play, Rush Zoro again. It's better to, if their character is committed or rested, it's better that you just use leader to attack into that character and take it out, or attack into leader. It is kind of a setback for sure, because they spent all this Dawn, and then so you're making them repay for stuff that they already have on the board. But also, depending on what you bounce back to their hand, it could be a 1K counter, it could be a 2K counter. Rush Zoro doesn't have any counter, so that's probably pretty good if you're not planning to attack into him. But he's Rush, so you can just play him again. So I don't know. Blue definitely has a lot more thinking to do, especially on the top end when you get to Tendon. I feel like I don't know what the answer for blue is for 8 cost Kid. You can play Mihawk at 9 costs. You can play Doflamingo at 7 costs. Mihawk bounces a 7 cost or less, so you can bounce the 7 cost Kid, but you can't bounce the 8 cost Kid. So, and Mihawk doesn't have rush, so you still have to attack into 8 cost Kid, and I don't believe he's a blocker, so that's just a 9,000 kind of wasted turn. If they can somehow in green rest that character, they can play that one. There's a card that you can 2 costs event card that you just rest the character. You can just they spend their entire turn playing Mihawk. They bounce something to your hand, but they can't bounce your 8 cost Kid. You just play that 2 costs and then put all your Dawn on 8 cost Kid or your leader Kid, and then go into Mihawk, and then you probably, that's 3 attacks on Mihawk, or a really big attack on Mihawk. You're already on the back end. Maybe you have some counters. You definitely don't have 2. You spent 9, so you don't have 2 Dawn up, so you can't get any of the 4K event card counters. So yeah, I think blue has an uphill battle against any green 8-cost kid deck. And I think every deck needs to know how to play around the 8-cost kid, whether it's you're playing 8-cost kid yourself, or you have Otama Jet Pistol, or you have 10-cost Kaido board wipe. There has to be something that you can do against 8-cost kid, and if you don't have the answer to 8-cost kid, you might win some games for sure, but I think you're gonna definitely struggle against green players. So that's my thoughts on the meta. Tell me what you think below, and if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Bye.